Hey, it's Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it's Wednesday. It's March the 5th, and this will be our chart lesson for today. Uh, it's a range type day. I believe earlier I couldn't decide if we were in a range or if we kind of had a channel, but I think that we've proven now that we've got a channel working up here, and we're just swinging from one side to the other. And I really like these kind of days. They're very predictable. Um, I ended up marking a lot of these in green because if you don't quite understand them, they're a little bit more difficult, so we'll talk about them. But I was able to hit my target and then take two, like I said, when I get done earlier, I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate, try to earn, make $200 demonstrating that every day and show the trade. So I've been trying to do that. And I was able to do all that and was done by 10:30, 10:45 today. So, I mean, for a lot of people, these days are hard, but they don't understand price action. But once you start to get a feel for it, these kind of days are very predictable if you can figure out where the proper entry points are and so forth. So, um, but let's talk about the trades. And there's actually, um, I probably should have circled this one in green. Unfortunately, the last few swing tops, generally you want to wait on a second entry, but you're not getting that opportunity. We're just turning off of it, and it's taking a minute to build up steam, and then it's dry. By here, people I think had finally figured it out, and the last two have really swung um, and gone pretty quickly. So there was a news item in here around 9 o'clock, right in here. This was probably news driven. Um, so this one took off. Of course, we came straight down too. But I think people were starting to see what was going on by that time, and it was obvious. Whenever you see prices, notice how prices are swinging. They're not staying on one side of the EMA. They're swinging back and forth. That's a sure sign that you're in a trading range. And so you got to draw these short-term trend lines to help keep you on the right side. But hopefully you can see that real clearly, that it's a trading range type day with a slight upward bias. That's the way I would describe this day. And you can see that. I'm going to um, zoom out just a little bit so we can talk about the trades where they're easier to see. And we'll go from there. The first trade that I saw this morning was right here. There was a little bit of a trap up here. We had two measured legs up. Uh, Notice how we tried to get above that twice, and then we turned lower and turned up and couldn't get out. And then this thing turned straight down and closes on its low. I liked going short when it broke out there, just have a stop there. It didn't matter. You could have put your stop below this. That's very bearish looking. Very, very bearish looking. Actually, before I do that, since that little reminder popped up, I want to talk about that real quick before I forget again. I always mean to mention that. But whenever a update for a Ninja Trader comes out, I usually wait a few days because it's amazing how many times it'll come out and there'll be some little bug in it or something. So I usually wait a few days to make sure they're not going to find a bug or something. I mean, it's not that critical that you update. If you start to get too far behind, you may have some issues, but generally you don't have to update very quickly unless they tell you there's some kind of special reason you need to. Don't ignore something like that. But when it just comes out and tells you just to update, I usually wait 4 or 5 days or something before I'll update, just to make sure there's no bugs. Uh, and unless it's a fix for some kind of bug that came out, then you might want to go ahead and update. So, but everything's stable in the last version. We hadn't had to update in a while, so I'll wait a few days and then I'll update. But anyway, this was a trap here, a little double top, and it was a measured move up. So, either when it broke lower, either have your stop already below this bar because it went out the top first, or put your stop right below that low. Uh, Easy scalp, and then it pulls up and has a failed second entry long, so I liked going short there. You kind of got this trend line working down. Um, the odds were we were probably coming down. At this point, it just looked like a trading range, so I thought we were probably coming down here. Um, and you got another little failed second entry long. Notice, it's like a little, uh, there's a new low there, first entry, pullback, second entry, and it fails, and that's the first real close outside that trend line. So the odds are we're probably going to shoot another leg down. I really thought we'd come all the way down to here, but it was still an easy scalp. And then it reverses. I don't think you could go long here really yet at this point. We do have the break and a new low. So an aggressive trader might go long. They may wait on a break above this bar and drop a limit order in there, and you see it would have gotten filled even on by the time it got here if you didn't get filled low enough to get out already. But then we kind of went into this congestion. But notice how everything's still above that little trend line. Draw it off those first few closes, and there's a second entry long here. I didn't like it as much because there's just a little doji, and there's a double top there. So I liked waiting on this failed second entry short here. Notice that first entry short, pullback, second entry short. So then going long here is what I liked. But if you were going, if you used a stop here, I don't know if a stop, notice how that bar didn't close and this one didn't break above and then it didn't close on its high. That's a little bit questionable. So what I would say is wait on it to break higher and then drop a limit order, or either skip this one. That's why I drew it in green, because I wanted to talk about that. Even though there's a failed second entry short there, the fact that we couldn't go on out the top and this couldn't even close on its top, that's a little bit suspect, especially on a range day. And the fact that we weren't to the low yet, I was afraid we might make one more leg down here because we got the break here, but we really probably got the break in the new low here. But, I wasn't 100% sure that was right, that we weren't maybe more like this. And it could have been more like that. But it's usually off these first few closes like that. And you can see how that's coming into play on both sides here. So I think that turned out to be right. But that was the question about this. And you're really close to, getting back up here where this last swing was. And if it's going to be a range, I wasn't sure that it was a range day yet because we didn't get down to the low here. We made a new high here. So this is like a higher high and a higher low. So we may be going to make a measured leg up, but it's just not real sure. And so this is a little bit like an inside bar almost, because it couldn't get higher and it didn't close on its high. So if you went long here, you needed to use a limit order. And then the same thing here. Now you're so close to this high, but you get a two-legged correction back to the EMA. So again, you need to be careful because you're so close to this high. And by now I had this line drawn here and I drug it up here and it seemed to fit across those first two. And it's not uncommon to see a breakout like that in the overnight hours. And then everything kind of get back into it. And and you do see eventually we kind of overshot it here. Not quite as much, but we still overshot it. So, but anyway, again, this one was a little bit risky. And because it's so close to that top, but that's a nice rejection off there. It's a little failed break lower. So, and we did get a close outside. So we're probably going to shoot to a new high. And, I'm not sure if that actually got 4 ticks if you used a stop. Let's just look at it. 73. And you see it would have been a 4-tick failure. So if you didn't wait on it to break higher and use a limit order, and then you probably didn't, if you got filled right there at the high, you were good to go. But if you didn't, this could have been tricky right here. So, but it does fit our setup, and I liked it. And we get another repeat of it over here, and I'll show you those trades. I was done by now, so I'll show you these 2 trades. They're the 2 I took. But then we break higher, and notice what happens here. This is very bearish right here. It's risky because it's a first entry coming off that high. And what I was really looking at then was that we just had a high right across here, and that's like a failed breakout. But it's a first entry, so I think a lot of people were still not quite sure about what the day was. But look at that. It opens up here at the very high after a strong move up, but it's a 4-tick failure, and then it closes on its very low. And so a real aggressive trader probably is going to go short there because that's a failed second entry long, and we did have a little break of the trend line and a new high already. So, uh, those people that are more aggressive are probably going to go short right there, and you see what happened. You don't know that's going to happen, but that's by being aggressive. A lot of times that is what you'll get out of it. So um, then you come down and you bounce here, and you get a second entry long here off this one, but this is really the uh, like a first entry almost, because this was working down and then it starts up here. So if you went long right there, you see what would happen. But that's an inside bar on a one with stems on both sides, so it's like indecision. People are just not sure. Um, and then it breaks higher on that second entry and it fails and turns down. I don't think you want to go short there. I think it's too dangerous because of that support. There's actually support right across here now, and you should have had that line up there. And so you can't go short there. But then when that second entry short fails and it turns up, um, I like that long now. And it's a failed break below this. There's a double bottom here, and it's that 1-tick. I would have liked it better if it closed on its high, so you might have thought about a limit order here too. Um, but generally these longs off these shorts on days like this, they're the easiest trades. And look at it go. And there is a trap here too, so I really like the way that one set up and took off. And then this is similar to what I did the other day. Um, But there's a little trap here. Notice this new low, first entry short, pullback, second entry short. It's a failed second entry short. That's a very bullish move. There was some news right in here. So you're going to get another leg up more than likely. Um, and notice this, there's one leg down, correction, second leg down right there. There's one leg up, pullback, two legs up. So you've already got your two legs down, so you're probably going to get two legs up right here. And if you mark that first leg, there's your first leg, and then a measured move is way up here. But this is a range day. You don't know you're going to get there, but you're going to probably get back up here to test these highs. So I like taking that trap. Unfortunately, what happened was when it broke higher, I dropped a limit order in here, and I didn't think it was going to come back, so I moved it up a little more. I still got filled, and then it ended up closing down here, and then there's some matching lows, and when it broke lower and turned back up right there, that's a second entry long. It's like a little two-legged pullback to the EMA, and so I like going adding on right there, and so I got both those trades in one little move right there. And I also liked adding, there's like another little tick back here. So this was almost acted like a little breakout pullback long up here across these highs, but it's just a second entry long really after the little break in the trap down here. So it's aggressive because you're so close to these highs again, and if you don't see this channel, you may not understand exactly what's going on yet. And I'd actually had this tightened up a little more off that high right there. And so there's not a lot of room to get out right there. So adding on right again, I almost went ahead and added a third set, but I said, no, that's too aggressive to be trying to demonstrate that, because the average trader that's trying to learn is not going to be doing that. I mean, even adding on the second set was a little bit iffy for somebody new, so I decided against adding on another set, or I would have. If it was my own trading, I probably would have added another one there, and you would have had 3 scalps. You would have taken 3 sets and got an easy 4 points out of all 3 of them. And usually what I do when I add on, if I add on at a higher spot on a long, I'm going to shoot to exit all of them at the 4 ticks on the worst entry. So you'll get more than 4 ticks on some of the others if you got a better entry on them. So I hope that makes sense. But I think it was really, really aggressive to add on right there. So I marked it in green. And then of course we go straight up. We reach this high up here. And again, I'd had this pulled down a little bit. So it just basically goes to this previous high and goes 1 tick higher and then turns down. And so it's best to wait on a second entry. So an aggressive trader Um, may just enter right here or below that bar. You got your two legs up. Now you got the break of the little trend line coming up, and this actually had this tighter. Your break, and it's really two legs up to a new high. So aggressive trader will probably want to go short right there. Uh, Everybody else probably needs to wait on the second entry, and you really don't get that till here, and it's not a good second entry. But notice how it still works, and we're headed to the other side. So I really probably should have made that one in green. But I just think that's a little risky right there because you never know if you might make that one push back up and then get the second entry higher. And then, of course, it comes down and it bounces off the low again. So now it's real obvious this is a channel. You can, I mean, if you can't see that channel there now, then you're missing something. So aggressive trader's just going to go long right there. And I think there's actually, now there's a little matching low there. What probably the best way to handle this is when it breaks higher. Try to get in with a limit order a little bit further back. You may get left behind though, and of course people are starting to understand what's going on by now. This is more confirmed because you're getting more touches and it's holding every time, especially this low one. The high one's a little bit more iffy, but look at the low one. I mean, every time we've bounced right there, it's shot to the other side. So people are getting really confident here now, and you don't get any second entries, and it comes up here, and they're real confident we're headed back to the other side. First entry, by the time the second entry comes, you're back in kind of no man's land. It's right on the EMA. It's not really below it or above it. So, you know, this actually set up probably after I had the chart. I'll go ahead and mark this one because you're probably going to get that other leg down. Let's draw our little, you see, and everything's kind of fitting the trend line right there. So, and now you probably headed up. And guess what? If you'd have just bought it, even with, there's a little trap here, but even with all the overlap, if you'd have just bought this one, you'd already had another scalp. Even on the second entry, I'm pretty sure that was good. Second entry was right here, 80, 72.50, and you see that was, it's easy. That one, I'd probably even mark that one in blue because it's obvious what's going on. But notice the midline held that time, so you just never know. But you got to take those trades right there, and that's a failed second entry short too. I just realized that. Notice that there's your low, first entry, pull back, second entry. It fails right down here at the low, and we're probably headed back up to this other side. They may trap some people down in here. I mean, it could turn and go lower, but my guess is we'll end up back up here again. And I mean, I love these days because they're so predictable. And like I said, I'm done by, 10:30, a little bit before 10:30. But let me put the two trades on here, and show you those. I've already really talked about them, but you can see I took on the failed second entry short. I used a limit order. You can see there, I got in at the top of that bar. I originally had it one tick in front of that, and it came back, but it did it before I got my order in, and it never would come back. And so I just went ahead and moved it up a little bit. I chased it just a hair. And I'm willing to chase it up to the normal entry, which is one tick above, but I actually got one tick better on that one. And then it ends up closing down here, so I could have got filled all the way down to here if I had been more patient. And then you get a second entry long, and that was right here. So when it broke higher, I used another limit order, and it pulls back. And so I added my second set on, and I exited them both on 4 ticks right there. Of course, I got the same entry on both of those. So, but I exited both sets right there. And so if you would have started 9:17 and been done before 9:30, so that's less than 15 minutes, basically less than 15 minutes of trading. You make your $200 and you're done for the day. So I don't know if this is helping. If this is, I know people wanted to see some trades, show your trade, so I'm trying to show some of that. I don't know if this is helpful or not. So Give me some feedback if you like seeing these trades and want me to continue to try to demonstrate a couple of them every day. And the key thing that you know that this show is this is after my own trading, you know. So you don't. It shows you can come in at 9 o'clock and still be done before noon. I mean, I've done this every day for how long now? A couple of weeks, week and a half, and I've had one losing trade during that time. And I think there was one day I didn't have time to take any trades. So it's still a week and a half basically. And over that period of time, I've had one losing trade, but yet I showed you how you could still come back from that one loss and still make more than your target that day. So uh, this can be done. It takes time and it takes effort, but it can be done. So, but let me know if you think this is helpful or not. If this is not helpful, I'll quit doing it and quit wasting time with it. But people seem to want to see it and people seem to like it, so I'm trying to show it. And but that's it for today. I'm going to wrap it up. That's 21 minutes worth, and it's 11:10 here, so I'm going to be out of here by lunch maybe today. And the weather's it's still a little chilly here, but sunshiny today, so the weather's starting to get better. So I like to try to get out of here and spend my time on some other stuff. Um, but anyway, back out one more time so you can see that channel a little more clearly. Sometimes, when you back out, you can see the bigger picture. And you can see it, there is a median line in there. And that was one reason why you got a little resistance right here. I meant to talk about that on those two trades, but I was pretty confident we were going back to the high side. And so you expect to get a little resistance in there. And they ended up having to get a little trap to get it higher. But then once they got them trapped, you can see how that rocketed up. And that's because that's where they were sending, that was Price's target, was to get here. And then it was to get back down here, then to get back up here, then to get back down here. And the target is to try to get back up here again. And unless you end up getting, something crazy going on and it sells on off, we're headed back up here. And you got to wait on the right setup. Don't just assume it's going up there. Wait on the right setup. And when you get it, ride it on up to the top. And if it doesn't happen and you start trending down, then get on board with the trend going down. So, but I'm going to wrap it up. This is Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.